Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is training, and the title is Examples of Client Limitations. So I wanted to go through, I was kind of thinking of the various reasons that people are held back in regards to reaching their results. And this would be, other than just, actually it includes even just you're doing everything right, you just got to be more patient. But there are many reasons why people don't achieve the results they want from their training efforts. Now, there are more than what I'll just list in today, but I wanted to just kind of give some examples to get people thinking about their own behaviors, actions, thought processes, and see if there's something that maybe can spark an idea in you on something that maybe you can address to get better results for your efforts. So I want to go through, and these are past clients, current clients. It's not really meant to be an attack on the client, so hopefully they don't take it that way. It's just giving kind of an example that many other people fall into. So it's a persona of a category, if that makes sense. So many people, you can probably find 1,000 people easily that are making that mistake. And we're just going to point it out and just kind of give everybody a chance to kind of think it through and see if it pertains to them. So one of the clients I'm thinking of, they have lack of confidence, basically. So they don't feel confident in the gym. They're very sheepish in the gym. Even though they've been told certain exercises to do, they're always questioning whether they're doing them right. They would never try anything new because they assume they're always going to get it wrong. They don't want to look like an idiot in front of other people, but that's only a small part of it. It's not like they have the confidence to try it anyhow, but the fear of that is holding them back. They don't have the confidence and they have the fear. So it's kind of a combination of everything. And the person, just due to the lack of confidence, it limits how hard they train themselves. So when they're in their workouts with me, they'll push themselves, but they're constantly surprised by how hard they have to work, and they're constantly surprised by how hard they can work, meaning that in between our sessions, they're not pushing themselves hard enough. So if we come in and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, it makes me as a trainer think, well, what the hell else are you doing? What are you doing on the other days? If this seems so hard and this is our normal, what in the hell, that if that's normal, then why does it feel so hard? It must mean that they're not trying hard on the other days. So, and I have the benefit of, since I own the gym and train them, I get to see kind of what they do on the days that I'm not with them. And they do things that are very correct. So they do the right exercises, they do the right order, they do the right weights, but they always stop a little bit short of the reps they could really achieve. And they're too repetitive in what they do, in the sense that they never kind of try new things, they never push themselves to new places. If they make, progressions on their exercises, it's, 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds here or 1 rep there, when they're actually capable of bigger progressions. So their lack of confidence really, really, really hinders their results, because they never truly push their current body to its limits. Remember that our body only makes changes if it's forced to. Our body won't get stronger unless it has to. It won't build new muscle unless it has to. It won't get anything improved in blood work health unless it has to. So you have to push your current body to its limits, to its very edge, so that way it responds with, holy crap, that was horrible. Let me make a change so I can get better towards that stimulus. So if the stimulus you're providing is a strength-based stimulus, your body will get stronger. If the stimulus you're providing is a fat loss stimulus, the body will lose fat. It'll reply to the stimulus you give, but it replies to the intensity universally. If you give a minor intensity, you're only going to get a minor, if any, progression or change or result of the body. So you have to push your current body to its limits to get it to respond by making adaptations. So since this person is limited in their confidence, they never believe themselves to be doing the right thing. They're always afraid they're going to get hurt, even though they're in exercises that can't possibly hurt them. They just always have that confidence, always holding them back. Therefore, they're never pushing to the true limit, and therefore they're going to get very small, if any, progressions. So that's one example. Another example is someone who never really, they're kind of sort of active but they're not active through resistance activities, meaning they do kind of either body weight or they do light cardio style things, but they don't actually weight their body down with activity. So the person's history, their background, was all lightweight stuff. So, for example, we could say a lightweight runner, like someone who just does long distance running. Or you could say someone who maybe does, like swimming is a little bit of a resistance activity for sure, so that would actually be okay. But that doesn't build a lot of muscle tissue. I've worked with lots of swimmers, very elite level swimmers, and they'll have kind of like limited, what we call dry land strength, meaning they have limited strength whenever you put them on land outside of water. But they'll do like soccer, like I said, long distance running, maybe like play tennis is actually kind of explosive, so that would actually build kind of strong hips and legs because there's a lot of change of direction, but it's really low level activities. So maybe like long distance biking, stuff like that. And then they had kind of like overcoming a sedentary lifestyle around that. So they did low weighted resistance activity, and then the rest of the time they're sitting in a chair at a desk. And what happens to that is their body is really, it has some cardiovascular ability, but it has no strength, has no muscle mass. And then that sedentary lifestyle around that creates very limited range of motions and very tight musculature. So this person, they have a great mindset and they're willing to work hard. They're a very hard worker. But we have to take our time to undo the tightnesses of the sedentary part of their life. And since their active life did not involve anything that built muscle or strength, we have to actually go through and adjust for that. So that's one of the limitations for this person in terms of the results they want to get. They want to have better aesthetics. They wanted to lose fat. They wanted to have nice muscle shape. But they were doing previously nothing that built muscle, even though they felt like they were active. What they were doing active-wise did nothing to build muscle or strength. So we now have to kind of start from an absolutely like basic starter beginner level, even though they've been active in other ways. And we have to undo the sedentary lifestyle of sitting at a desk. So this person, even though they were active, it's almost like you're starting somebody who's never worked out before. Because what the results they want, they have no base for. They've never done anything for strength or muscle. So they may have done a ton of stuff for cardio. So I could have went to school to be a mechanic, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be a good doctor, So they learned a lot of the wrong thing, if that makes sense. So this person, great mindset, willing to work hard, is just going to take forever because we're starting from the basics. We have another kind of category of clientele limitation is somebody who never wants to be wrong. They never want to be bad at anything. So this person, because they have the fear of being inadequate, they're going to never allow themselves to be bad at something. And what this means is, of course, they're going to be bad at things they've never done before. But if we're doing a movement, say, for example, we're learning, I don't know, I'm just making up stuff because I don't want to give too many specifics and hurt people's feelings. But let's say we're learning a squat. And this person, I tell them like the positions they should be in, but they're related to their weaknesses because we want to make them stronger, we want to make them better, so we're picking exercises that target their weakness. But maybe we're doing a squat variation, like we said, that targets their weakness, but they don't like being bad at things, so they cheat all of their movements. They lean into their strong muscles, they move this, they go too fast, they don't do all the movement correctly. And you try to correct as much things as you can as a trainer, but they just keep cheating in other ways and other ways. When you go to correct them, they'll argue that they were like, well, this is what I was thinking. It doesn't matter. Like, okay, thank you for telling me that, but it doesn't matter. Just do what I'm telling you. And I know that sounds very jerkish, but what they were doing, like, it would be an example of, like, say, for example, you wanted somebody to push through their heels on a squat because they tend to fall forward into their toes. And this person would go, well, I thought being forward on my toes would give me a better brace because more of my foot's in touch with the ground. It's like, no, I want you to push through your heels so we can get the hamstrings and glutes involved. Yes, your whole foot should still be in touch with the ground. Don't pick your feet up, okay? But make sure you pressure more through your heels. Well, when I do that, that causes me to round over. It's like, no, you just got to flex your abs stronger. Okay, posture up, try to lift your chest a little bit. but still press through your heels, push your knees out towards your pinky toes. That'll actually help you sit back further into your hips. Well, that doesn't feel very comfortable. No shit, because you're not strong in that position, which is what my answer would love to be, but that's inappropriate. So, but that's the type of arguments you get back, is just continually kind of counterpointing. And I do understand, and I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't speak up if something hurts. But at the same time, is you have to be willing to let your trainer guide you into good positions. If you're always counterpointing and arguing, there's a difference. There's a large difference, and everyone would know this if you kind of take a second to be politically open-minded to what I'm about to say. Is there is a difference between asking a question for clarity versus arguing. So it typically happens when somebody argues back, they'll say, well, I was just trying to understand it. No, you weren't. No, you absolutely were not. You were just trying to get your point made, so that way you could feel that you were heard. And that's good in the sense that, the trainer may be more aware of your thoughts, but you can present them as, hey, why is it that I should be back on my heels? What's the benefit of that? That's a good question. You can even hear it in the tone. Versus, well, I was doing this because da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, ugh, that's aggressive. So if you have that mindset where when you're being told to do things that you're not good at, recognize that that's okay. Your current body has weaknesses. Usually good programming, whether it's with a trainer or on your own, but good programming should challenge your weaknesses. So you have to be open to that challenge. You have to be willing to do things that you kind of suck at. But with practice and time, you will become better at, and therefore you won't have that weakness. So you have to have an open mind to corrections and changes. You have to be willing to be put into difficult positions to do things you suck at. You have to be open to the fact that you might be bad at what you're trying to do. You might not be good at it. But that doesn't mean you'll always be bad at it. If you open your mind and you take on the challenge and you grow through the training, you will then become good at those things. And that's how you'll then reach your goals. So if you're always putting off things that challenge you, you're never going to reach your goals. Okay? Another idea we have, or another kind of category here, is somebody who has a great mindset. They just have really bad coordination. So their body and their brain are not connected. So when they would try to do exercises, it's just really awkward. Things are moving weird. They're not sure even if they're doing the thing that you're asking them to do. So, or you have somebody who's following a program and they're like doing a movement that's supposed to be for their chest, but all they can feel is their shoulders and triceps burning. Well, that's not good. So you need to find a way to get better with that technique. So if you're training on your own, there's lots of techniques videos on YouTube. Okay, if you're training with a trainer, get the trainer to send you technique videos. They should show you in person, but they also should give you some kind of support. Okay, informational support to make sure you're doing it right when you're on your own. But that happens. Sometimes that's, where people start. They're just not very coordinated, and they're kind of starting from ground zero in the sense that they have no athletic ability. So the results that they want to achieve, they're going to have to actually develop athletic ability and body coordination first before they can then really get into any results, because without good coordination, they can't get into positions that cause muscle damage, muscle challenge. They can't push themselves to true limits because they're always having some sub-limiting thing getting in the way. So for example of this is if somebody wants to do dumbbell chest presses and they're brand new to lifting, okay? They're going to fail at the exercise because they can't balance and support the weight. Okay, if it's dumbbells, they're going to fail that. They're going to fail because of balance and support before they'll actually fail from strength, physical strength. So you have to see is if the person is limited by kind of I don't really know what the terminology is here, but if they're limited by things other than just pure physical strength, then they have to build those things up first before they can then really push their physical strength. If you're limited by cardiovascular ability, You have to improve that before you then get into the improvements that you're able to make with more like muscle damage stuff or other type of behaviors. Okay, so maybe a certain person wants to learn like an athletic skill set, but they are too heavy to move correctly. Their ankles and knees hurt. You have to do fat loss then before you can actually get into the physical skill development. So very often there's going to be limitations that are in the way that we have to address first before you can actually get to the big result that you really want. In those cases, you have to identify what those limitations are and then have the patience to fix them. If you try to work around them, if you try to hide from them, if you try to skirt around it in any way whatsoever, it'll eventually cause you to become injured or eventually cause you to plateau, and you'll never make further progress. So I have clients now, like the client I'm kind of using for this example, is they're a great mindset. They're a freaking awesome human being. I love spending my time with them because I always leave happier from having them around me. And they have the right mindset. They're willing to work through it. And I've even told them that their side limitations are getting in the way. And they're like, hey, you know what? If that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do. So they accept the idea of patience. And it's awesome that they're willing to do that because that's the only way they're ever going to get better. And it's cool that they embrace that process. We have another category where somebody who doesn't pay attention to the quality of anything they do. So they're just checking things off a list. They're coming in, they're doing it. They're either gabbing and not paying attention to what the hell they're doing, or they're on their phone not paying attention to what the hell they're doing, or they're just kind of going through the motions, and they'll tend to maybe overanalyze a single aspect of an exercise, but they forget the big picture of the exercise. So they might be trying to pay attention to whether their knees are going in and out, but they don't have their upper body posture correct in any way whatsoever, and they're using a weight that's ridiculously too light. So they did a great job on the knees, but they messed up everything else. So it's those kind of mindsets where somebody's just too busy in their mind, and they need to kind of like hone that in. They need to focus, but then they also need to focus on the concepts of what's happening, not on specifics. So we've talked about this in past podcasts for trainers, is they need to apply concepts to their clients, not specifics. So for example, what is the concepts of a good squat? That's what a trainer should use with their clients. How do I get someone to squat well and get them to squat safely? But a specific might be is one client has to have a wide stance, one client has to have a narrow stance. Maybe that trainer squats with a wide stance. Well, if they get too connected to that specific, and then they make all of their clients squat with a wide stance, that won't be correct because everybody has different body types, different weaknesses, different strengths. There is absolutely no freaking reason why a trainer should have every single client squatting the exact same way. That's incorrect. So they need to know the concept of what makes a squat healthy and safe and not worry about the specifics of it. So the same is true for a trainee, okay, somebody working out. Yeah, if they tend to overanalyze on singular aspects of the work, of the exercise, they need to remind themselves is what is the purpose of this exercise? So before I worry too much about my knees, why are my knees important to pay attention to? Oh, because I want to maximize my involvement in my glutes. If you think about it, I want to maximize the involvement in my glutes, they would then recognize, well, if the weight's too light and I'm not feeling my glutes, it's probably not working. If my upper body posture is wrong and all I can feel is my low back, then it's probably not working either. So it's important to remember concepts rather than specifics. So it's also important that this person actually pays a freaking attention to what the hell they're doing when they're in the gym. So if they're coming in, they're just bullshitting with people and just going through the motions, you don't get the results of things that you don't pay attention to. So if you're doing, say, a step up and you're yapping with somebody and just driving through your toes and working your quads, but that step up is supposed to help your hamstrings and glutes to balance out your over dominant quads, then it doesn't matter if you're doing the step ups. You're not getting benefit. If you're doing them the wrong way, you might as well not even do them. So that would be a category that a lot of people kind of fall into is they don't pay attention to the quality of what they're doing. They don't pay attention to the larger picture. So I've seen people do stiff leg deadlifts to try to get stronger hamstrings, but they're using 5-pound dumbbells. Absolutely freaking worthless. So you'll see this all the time as people kind of worry about one aspect, but they miss the big picture. Okay? Another one we have is a client that just likes to do the easy stuff. So they like to do the stuff they're good at. and they'll push themselves on things that they already like and things they're already good at, but then they try to avoid the things they don't like, and they don't worry about progressing on those things because it seems more uncomfortable to do so. So I've had people who mix in weight training and cardio for health effects. Maybe it's someone just wanting to improve blood health, and we say, hey, here's some weight training stuff, but the amount of weight training ability you have right now isn't very high. So in order to add to the caloric usage to improve things like cholesterol and blood values, let's add cardio. So I'll talk to them a week or two later, and they're like, oh, I bumped up my cardio 5 minutes. I started doing this and this and this. I go, what'd you do with the weight training? Oh, I'm still doing it the same. What the hell? The weight training is the more important part. So they increase on the stuff they're good at and the stuff they like, not the stuff that challenges them. Okay? And the last example we'll give is somebody who knows what they should be doing, training nutrition-wise, but they just won't commit to it being a regular lifestyle. So they don't commit to it being a regular habit. They're always kind of feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and the things they do every day that they believe to help their stress and kind of that feeling of anxiety and being overwhelmed, they do them every day believing them to be helpful. Saying, well, I don't have time for food, or I don't have time for exercise, or I don't have the energy, I don't have the emotional capacity. Okay, but if you've been doing what you've already been doing, okay, and nothing has changed in months, if not years, if every single day you have the same damn day, meaning you didn't have the energy yesterday, you don't have the energy today. You feel overwhelmed and stressed yesterday, you feel overwhelmed and stressed today. If nothing you did yesterday improved your today, isn't it possible that you're not doing the right stuff? If my life is continual cycle of anxiety, stress, and being overwhelmed, then whatever I think I'm doing to handle my anxiety and stress doesn't seem to be making anything better. You're maybe surviving day to day, but how the hell did you decide that survival is a good enough goal? Now, I understand that when it comes to stress and anxiety and depression and things like that, survival is temporarily sometimes the best people are capable of. I'm aware of that. I've had moments of anxiety and stress and like bouts of depression and stuff in my own life. And there were days when if I could just get to work and do my normal thing and get home, that was a freaking accomplishment. But those moments are meant to be temporary. Have you been in that moment for too long? Have you been in that moment for too many months? Have you been in that moment for years? It may be time to start to try one new thing a day. Rather than survival, try survival plus one. See if you can do one good thing per day. Whether that's taking a 10-minute walk. Okay? Doesn't seem like much, but it actually makes a difference. Maybe that's just making sure you eat a really good breakfast every day. But then don't get overwhelmed and don't get stressed out over lunch and dinner. Just try to do one meal well. Just try to do 10 minutes of activity. Just try to make your bed, as they say. Okay, and motivational things. Try to do survival plus one. And see if you're able to start to add to your life, rather than just trying to survive the same cycle of repetitive overwhelmingness and stress from day to day. So, these examples, the idea of this, the intent of this, is for you to kind of think in your mind is, do I fit into one of these categories? Or does any of this spark into my mind what might be holding me back? Is it your mindset? Are you trying to always find the easy way out? Are you trying to only do the things you like to do? Are you always saying that you don't have time, you don't have energy? Or I'll do it next week, I'll do it next month, I'll do it next year. I'll do it someday. But someday comes and someday passes and you still haven't done it. Is it your mindset? Are you not figuring out how to be motivated? Motivation doesn't just spark on you, happenstance. You have to work at being motivated. You have to work at willpower. You have to work at dedication. You have to work at consistency. Okay, is it your mindset that's holding you back? Or you have the great intensity, you want to work hard, but what you're working hard at doesn't seem to be working. So maybe it's the information you have that's holding you back. You're training hard, but maybe you're not doing the exercises correctly. Maybe you're overanalyzing single aspects but forgetting the bigger picture. Maybe you're not paying attention to the form of what you're doing. Maybe you're in the gym killing it, but you're bullshitting with friends and not paying attention to the quality of what you're doing. A lot of times people, when they blame their programming, and it absolutely can be true, programming can be absolute shit, so I'm not saying that that's not a problem, but think to yourself am I doing the programming with my best efforts first before I then blame the programming? Okay? So then it also can be programming. It can be you're training hard, you're paying attention to the details, but what's written for you or what you're following doesn't seem to be working. So it's time to look for something new and see if there's ways to try like a different approach. Okay? So in podcast 467 titled Training, Intensity or Intelligence, which do you have? So podcast 467, Intensity or Intelligence, which do you have? We talk more about what might be holding you back. Is it how hard you're training? Are you training too hard or not hard enough, intensity-wise? Or are you training with intelligent information or not? Do you have the right information for your goal? So podcast 467 talks more about that. So it might be worth checking out. Okay? So think to yourself, if you're not getting the results that you want, is it because you're making concessions and rationalizations and bullshit excuses for not doing the things you're supposed to be doing, for not doing the things you already know you should be doing? If you're not doing everything that you were told to do by your programming or your trainer, it's your fault. Figure it out. Work with them to maybe find a better balance. Maybe they're asking you to do things that don't fit into your schedule. So talk with them. Tell them what your limitation is. If you're having a program on your own and it doesn't fit your schedule, find a different program. Okay? So we talk about in the diet world all the time that there's variability to structure. The structure of diets is the calories, the macronutrient contents, and the meal timing and frequency. Some people like intermittent fasting because it allows them to not eat when they're busy and eat more food when they're not busy. I'm not a big fan of it, but it has a structural change that somebody can make fit their lifestyle. Okay, if they have an inconsistent activity at their job, or they have crazy ass weird hours and they never know when they're going to be busy. Sometimes certain structural changes that might not be ideal is good for that person because there's no alternative. They have a bigger priority such as their career or their job that gets in the way, so you have to work around that priority. Okay? So there's tons and tons of things with nutrition in which you have to change your structure to best fit your needs. Training is the same way. What changes do you have to make to the structures of your training so that way it best fits your needs? Rather than you missing it all the time, not getting in the right stuff, find a way to better match your needs so you can be more consistent and get more in. Okay? So hopefully this kind of sparked some ideas, gave you some thought, okay, on what might be holding you back. If you would like help, if you'd like to email us, you can send us what you're doing, nutrition and training wise, and then just explain what results you're missing out on or what your frustrations are, what your limitations are, and we'll help you out, okay? We'll give you some quick tips, or we would, obviously help with programming services and stuff. But if you just want someone to hear you out, email us. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us what your frustrations are. And maybe we can help you figure out, is it your mindset? Is it the information you're using? Maybe it's not matching your style, like your lifestyle. Maybe it's not actually matching your direct needs. Maybe it's a programming that somebody wrote that doesn't actually match what you want it to do. But email us, brutalirongym@gmail.com, and we'll give you help and maybe an idea of why you might be held back from the results you want. Okay? So, we're always happy to help, and I hope that this podcast was helpful in some way. Cool? Okay. So, if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.